I'm highly honored to be here in Dume, particularly because this is your first session where you're making people to pay, you know. And I'm glad that you've been able to attract the numbers that you've been attracting. I think there's a fundamental importance in paying for a service. You know, it gives you gravitas. It gives you the ability to beat yourself on the chest and say, look, I have paid for the service and therefore I demand a good service for it, you know, regardless of how small or large the amount you're paying is. So paying for a service empowers you, the payee, but also it empowers the recipient of the funds. So I think moving forward, people must never be afraid to pay for anything in life.
Yes.
Because once you pay for it, you know, you then have the ability to use it and to use it constructively. A little bit about myself. I'm also an accountant by profession, by the way, Ndumi, if you didn't know. There's something about us. Although I don't work for an accounting firm anymore, I used to work for government as an accountant for a very long time. Up until I resigned in 2016 to pursue my dream of being a property investor. And that for me meant that I was able to respond to my calling. Now, responding to a calling is important, it's very important, ladies and gentlemen. Each and every one of us has a calling. And it just so happened that mine is property investment. Now, property investment entails many, many, many things. Amongst others, it means that you are able to buy and sell property. It means you can become a real estate agent. The property cycle, you know, is huge. I was born and bred in Soweto, in Deep Kloof to be in particular. But I spent a large bulk of my time in Pretoria. I studied in Pretoria. I worked in Pretoria. I went back to Joburg for a little while, but I ultimately decided that, you know, there are more opportunities in Pretoria and therefore I should settle here. I also ran, Ndumi's path is almost similar to mine. In fact, it's similar to mine in many ways because I also run a crowdfunding platform called SA Property Stockfall. Please find us on Facebook, like us, and let's share ideas. You can also find my page on Facebook, Matimba Properties. We are going through a rebranding phase currently, which is going to take us a bit long. We're repositioning ourselves in the market, and we're trying to rebrand and re-access new markets. But before I even start, let me just tell you a little story, 2 minutes. So one day I was coming from a meeting at about 6 o'clock in the evening. You know, it was a winter's day, so it was quite dark. But I saw a board that was written for auction. It was written 3-bedroom apartment on auction. It was a one-way road going east. So I couldn't capture the contact details and everything correctly. So I quickly did a U-turn, you know, just to ascertain whether I'm doing the right thing, whether this property for auction is what I'm looking for, you know. And then quickly I did a U-turn again. I drove and I stopped next to the board. I took down the numbers and immediately I called. It was about 6 o'clock, remember. I called the auctioneer. I said to him, I see you are selling a flat for sale. He said to me, yeah, actually the auction was last week, Monday. The person put up an offer, but the bank is not happy with what he's offering. And I said, how much can the bank be happy with? And he said to me, look, if you can better this guy's offer by at least 50K, you have a deal. Immediately I agreed. Without even seeing the property, by the way. I immediately agreed. I said to him, look, if you can show me the property in the next 2 days, I will sign with you and I will take the property. And true to his word, we met, the gentleman and I, we met 2 days afterwards. I viewed the property, dilapidated. It was in a very bad state. Nonetheless, I agreed without doing market evaluation, without doing any types of analysis on the property, exclusively based on instinct. Now, the bulk of my conversation is going to be about property investment, but it also is going to be about how you become a property entrepreneur and an entrepreneur in general, because entrepreneurship and running a business is about 80% gut feeling and 20% planning and strategy. That's my personal philosophy. You have to build the confidence, enough confidence in you to enable you to make decisions that other people are afraid to make. That is what will distinguish you from other people. Meaning that your tolerance for risk as you move on will increase, just as in when you exercise and you can't lift a particular amount of weights. Over time, your tolerance of that weights gains momentum and you are able to allow yourself to lift that particular weight. So regardless of what I say today, I want each and every one of you to really sit down with yourself, introspect in yourself, and really have the ability and the wisdom to look at yourself and look at your proximity to risk. How much risk are you willing to take in order to achieve your objectives? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, having said that, by the way, I have a written presentation that if you so wish, you can ask Ndumi. Ndumi can email it to you and you can have it with you. It's not much, it's 4 pages. But in the 4 pages that I'll be going through, I'll be sharing some of my my experiences and my life and how I got to start investing in property, but in particular in townships. Now, before I even get into it, the township property market, here are the facts. I'm going to use Soweto, ladies and gentlemen, as a microcosm or a case study for township investment. All of you might come from different areas. Some of you come from KZN, Western Cape, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to use Soweto not because there's anything special about it, but because it's one of the townships where you are able to get statistics and numbers much more correctly and much more accurately. You can apply this philosophy or this mechanism everywhere, wherever you are in the country. Now, in the 2019 financial year, we had 9.6 billion worth of transfers in Soweto for property transfers. So meaning that properties exchanging hands from one person to the other, the net worth of those transfers were with 8.6 billion rands in the 2009 financial year. You had a 28% increase in new property developments. These are, in my assumption, low-cost housing between the price of 600 and 780,000 rands, mostly built in areas like Protea Glen. For those of you who know Soweto, for those of you who don't know, these new developments are the ones that you call bonded housing, emakasi, So there's been a 28% increase in so-called local housing. The median price, meaning that average price for the property transfer has been 520,000 rands. There's been 58 properties that were sold via auction, sales and execution in the entire Soweto in the 2019 period. Now this, in my assumption, is much more, but because of various reasons which we will touch upon and when we look at the risk factors of investing in townships. Soweto as a township consists of about 10% of Johannesburg's population. So you can do an extrapolation. Whatever the population of Johannesburg is, 10% of it is based in Soweto. My other view is that look, there's much more. If you're counting the foreigners, the Pakistanis and the Indians, the Bangladeshis, and so on and so forth, it's usually more than 10%. I even estimate to about 15 to about 20% of Johannesburg's population is based in Soweto. The spending power of Soweto residents has increased tremendously since 1994. In fact, when you go into Stats SA's website and you go into the Gauteng Economic Development website and you try and pull the stats, they say the spending power of Sowetans has increased by more than 40% since 1994. So this means that Sowetans in general have, and this is a reflection of all townships in South Africa, by the way, people who are based in townships, their ability to spend money has increased 40%. So for every 1 rand that a person used to spend in 1994, now they're able to spend a 1 rand 40 cents. That's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. There are many factors that has contributed to this. One is that township properties are a beneficiary of an apartheid settlement, meaning that whoever used to pay rent to the government before 1994, for those of you who are old enough, you would remember that before the 1980s, our parents used to go and actually pay rent to the municipality. They never owned these township properties. We fast forward to 1994, they were given title deeds for nothing. Basically, they were just given title deeds to say this is your property. They didn't have to pay anything. They didn't have to pay transfer costs. The properties belonged to them, meaning that our parents all of a sudden had assets. And over a period of time, they were able to grow those assets. Those of us who stayed in little 4-room houses, our parents were able to extend the house and therefore giving it an asset appreciation value. Those who stayed in 2-room houses, they built back rooms and were able to appreciate the value. Now, this meant that Soweto dwellers had disposable incomes because unlike their counterparts in suburbs, they were not paying any bond. Now, for those of you who are paying bond, you know that the bond contributes about 40% or 33% to your monthly expenditure. So whatever you're earning, 33% of that goes towards paying your bond. And associated expenses, meaning that you also have to pay water and lights, you also have to pay levies and rates and taxes. That takes it up to about 40%. So this is why townships are so unique. This is why townships become a unique selling point, Is everybody still there? Now, if you want to look at township properties, you have to look at township properties in the broader scheme of the township economy. You can't look at township properties just as an economic driver on their own in a silo of some sort. You have to look at real estate as an economic driver. Let me give you an example. In the 1930s, Jews were not allowed to swim in the beaches of Miami in the US. In fact, between the early 1900s and up until 1948, the Jewish people were very poor. Now, in the 1930s, they were not allowed to swim or even get close to the beaches in Miami. And do you know what the Jewish people did? They got together, built up a fund, bought almost the entire real estate along the Miami coast. Now that allowed them to have access to the beaches in Miami. But more importantly, it allowed them to gain material wealth. We all know that the Jewish people, although they are small in numbers, are the richest, among the richest people in the world. Some of the Forbes top 100 richest people consists about 80%, if not 60% of Jewish citizens or people of Jewish origin. So I'm telling you this because you have to really set yourself up as an investor. You have to, at the back of your head, when thinking about real estate, not just think about your own investment or your own property that you are investing in, particularly in townships. You have to look at your property as part of a bigger economic value chain. Your property has to be part of a bigger economic value chain. Research has shown that in areas where there is less crime, for instance, in areas where garbage is collected on a weekly basis, in areas that are clean, are neat, those areas are more likely to attract investment. Those areas are more likely to have property appreciation more than in areas where there are slumlords. So only when you are able to appreciate property as part of an economic value chain will you be able to look at the opportunities in real estate that present themselves everywhere you go. I'm going to touch a bit on this later on as we move. Now, I have identified that there are 5 economic drivers in terms of real estate. Now, this applies everywhere. It can apply in townships, it can apply in suburbs, it can apply even in villages. I think, Dumi, one of the topics we need to speak about when we have time is how we are going to transform our villages into economic viable spaces so that they are able to attract as much investment as the townships are attracting, and that's not our attention. Because villages, I am telling you, are the next big thing in terms of opportunity. Now, you've got 5, yeah.
On that one, there is another topic that we must talk about, an idea of a property council, where we try and control what comes in and what goes out of our townships. But we'll talk about that outside this. Now I just thought I must mention it because you're saying we must also speak about villages, which is another path of economic growth that we need to drive for our African people.
True. I mean, when as residents of a community we are able to determine who invests in our communities, how they invest in our communities, and the terms and conditions within which they are able to invest in our communities, we are able to harness that growth, and we are able to really transform that economic investment into growth and wealth for ourselves. We are seeing a trend lately where we have in townships the sprawling of malls, people building huge malls.
Yes.
And I mean, who benefits from those malls? Who benefits from it? It's because township residents are happy that they are going to get a job to do paving, or they're even happy that they are going to shop at Pick n Pay instead of going to job. But they don't really ask themselves, really, who owns these malls? Who gave them the right to come and invest in our own spaces? This will never happen in other communities. In the Jewish and the Indian and the Portuguese communities, it will never happen because economic benefit, however little or much exists, is only as good enough as it is able to benefit those who are based in those communities. Now, we've identified 5 types of properties: residential properties. Now, this includes bedrooms as well, commercial properties, industrial properties, student accommodation, and and office blocks, and which falls under commercial properties as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about township properties, I want to take you away from just thinking about back rooms. I want to take you away from just thinking about your own property. I'm not saying don't start there. It's a great way to start. I'm going to give you a bit about how I started as well. But I want us to look at township properties as a value chain and economy on its own. I want it to scale down to your neighborhood, down to your household, down to your children, and ultimately to your children's children, because that is how you are going to ultimately build generational wealth. Now, I told you a story that my first investment property was a flat that I bought in Arcadia. I told you a story about how I came across that flat in 2009. I then went on to buy a stand in Soshanguve for 50,000 rands. That's where I started paying my school fees, because I bought the stand without doing a deed search, without ascertaining who owns the stand. And guess what? I came back the following day, and the person that I had paid at least a deposit to was not there. So I got robbed, basically, for buying a stand that did not exist. I did not give up. In 2012, I then went on to buy a dilapidated house in Garankuwa. Dilapidated in the sense that that house was not well looked after. It basically was a shell. The back rooms were dilapidated. In fact, they had cracked to an extent that we had to demolish and build new ones. I was lucky I bought the property at a very good price back then. I bought it for 120,000 rands. I believe in mentioning numbers because, you see, once we start mentioning numbers, people were not afraid, you know. And I must tell you that I financed that property using a credit card. I took a risk because I had reached what you call an investment ceiling. The banks were no longer able to finance me because this was my second property, and because really the property was uninvestable. You know, the banks didn't see the potential that I had seen in it. I then went on to get an overdraft and a credit card. I bought the property and renovated the property, built 4 rooms on the property, and I was able to pay back the credit card and the personal loan within a reasonable amount of time. Ladies and gentlemen,
sorry, I'm not too sure now whether you can. Can you still see your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, which slide number?
I'm on slide number 2.
2. Yeah. Is that what you see on your screen?
Yes, that's what I see.
Okay.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, residential property is the gateway to property investment. We all know that your own personal property is not an investment. In fact, it's a liability. But make no mistake, if you buy your own personal property and you buy it right, with the right thinking and the right advice, you are then able to use your own personal property as a stepping stone to acquiring other investments. There is a school of thought out there that says, for all first-time home buyers who are still staying with their parents, for instance, it is advisable for you to buy a property and still remain with your parents or wherever you are staying. Rent out the property and build enough equity on the property to allow you to invest in the future.
Matimba? Zuzo, can you still hear Matimba?
Yeah, I think his audio or video is frozen.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think he's frozen because he's muted.
He's unmuted. Okay,
Yeah, we are there.
let's talk about whilst it's still lost, let's talk about what you think so far. Any questions that we can talk about so far?
This
is the lowest definition.
Ndumiso, hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thanks. He mentioned this, his last point that he was still talking about, saying if you are still staying with, what
You
is
there?
oh,
Are you there?
you can continue.
Oh,
I'll
yes, yeah,
answer.
no, you're back. It's
Yeah,
fine,
yeah.
it's fine, Eunice. It's fine, Eunice, continue.
Sorry about
No,
that.
answer. Let him continue.
Oh, okay. Matimba, it's fine, you can go ahead.
You know technology, most guys. Sometimes
Yes,
it just
yeah,
does-
it's always an issue.
So my own investment philosophy, which is something that each and every one of you must sit down and really learn to craft. My own investment philosophy is that because of my own financial situation, I want to buy properties that gives me cash flow positive returns from day one. So meaning that I want to get into an investment or a property that is below market value, that I can charge the most amount of rent for, and I pay the least amount of expenses for, and then I am left with a little profit at the end of the month. Some people buy properties for capital appreciation, so they can afford to say, if I buy a property today that's worth 500,000 rands, even though I pay in an extra amount on a monthly basis, as long as the property increases in value, I know that I'll be able to sell it for 860,000 rands in the next 3 or 4 years. There isn't any wrong or right strategy in that. For me, what matters for me is that we are entering into a space where we all can decide for our own what is our investment philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, I've given you a breakdown of four property segments, not just in the townships but everywhere else. When you enter into the residential space, your objective should be move towards commercial space. When you move towards commercial, it should be to grow. Who benefits from large-scale property investment? Currently, now I'm talking about people who are building mega projects, 1,500 houses, malls, and so on and so forth. Who benefits from these mega projects in our townships? Is it the communities that live in our townships? Is it the residences of our townships? Do we even have shareholders in our townships that own part of whatever development takes place? Look, I'm going to give you the liberty to answer that question on your own. My own understanding is that you've got listed funds that are listed on the JSE. You've got what they call real estate investment trusts, REITs for short. Now, my journey through property investment has not just made me understand my own property investments. It has also allowed me to do a risk-benefit analysis. I bought a property in the south of Johannesburg, in Lolly, on auction. I bought that property for 75,000 rands. The net value of the property was about 500,000 rands. But there was a catch. I needed to evict the person who stayed there. Ladies and gentlemen, I bought the property in 2014. I am yet to evict the person who stays there.
Yeah.
Now, Ndumi tells me that he is going to run future courses about property investment in townships. These are some of the risks that we need to look out for. My own personal opinion is that it is much more riskier to buy properties in execution, auction properties in townships than it is in other areas, suburban areas, urban areas, and in the CBD. And therefore, you need to apply a certain level of risk-benefit analysis. You need to measure your risk. You need to approach a property coach, someone who's been there before, someone who is able to walk with you and say, look, should you be hitting a stumbling block of this nature, this is what you do. Better still, someone who's going to advise you even before you invest and say, no, look, this is a high-risk property, don't even think about it. You know, maybe go and invest in an area where you feel it's much safer, or in a property that is much safer for you to invest. Because once you do one or two mistakes in investment, you must know that you are going to get disheartened, you are going to lose money, but most importantly, you are going to lose the ability to invest in other properties. So it's important for you while you are building or we are buying a property to know all the developments that are happening. You must know when, if there's a mall that's going to be built in 5 years' time in your area. You must know the town planning makeup for your property. You must know the municipal structure. Municipalities usually give you a 5-year plan of what is going to be happening in your township. So planning is extremely important. You are able to get all these details from municipalities, from people who know, from developers, and so on and so forth. So our ability to plan and plan ahead is also very important. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to know your competitors. And in the sense of township properties, my personal opinion is that listed funds and REITs are our biggest competitors. They are competitors exclusively because they've got the money, they've got into Octana, you know. They are able to get into a space where a land is available for 8.5 million rands and pay cash for it. The question we should ask ourselves is, why aren't we able to raise that 8.5 million rands when we've got millions of people staying in townships? We've got neighbors who are able to, at one drop, get together, put in 100 rands a month, and are able to buy that piece of land. That is a topic for another day. I think it's worth discussing. I think you are noting down. It's an issue that I think we need to look at. Can you just move to the last slide, please? Can you just take me to the last slide with me?
Am I there now?
No, you're not. Yeah. How to invest and where to start. Ladies and gentlemen, property is about ownership. Property is about ownership. It's about knowing who owns the property so that you are able to leverage of properties. Now, there's a concept that we're working on, a few people, a few friends and I, where we're going to be erecting containers in properties. So we're able to, if you've got a house and a back room, we just come there, we erect a container for you, we share, we erect water and lights, you get a tenant for you, you rent out the property, you make money and share the profit. But before we do that, we want to know who owns the property. And therefore, having a title deed is one of the most secure ways to know as to who owns the property. So ownership is important. Who owns the property? What the property is zoned for. Dumi was speaking about town planning because different areas in townships are zoned for different purposes. Commercial, residential, industrial, malls, schools, and churches. It's important for us to gain that. Should you not know how to gain access to a title deed of a property, speak to me after this. I think we can show you in the right way on how to move about it. Community involvement. When you start a property investment anywhere else, especially in the township, it's very easy for you to start alone because you are starting in your own backyard. You've bought you've bought 1 or 2 properties, and you are well within your way. But when you want to move from being a small-time player into a big-time player, ladies and gentlemen, you have no choice but to get like-minded people in and around your area, to invest in spaces that will allow you to grow your portfolio. Let me give you an example. In Soweto, there is Vilakazi Street. Vilakazi Street has the potential of becoming a highly commercially viable precinct. For those of you who've been to Soweto, or I'm sure even if you haven't been there, you know Vilakazi Street. It's the only street in the world that has 2 Nobel Peace winners. You know, so it's a very popular street. But because there isn't an alignment and synchronization amongst the residents of Vilakazi Street, they are unable to come together and say, let us partition government to rezone the entire street as a commercial property street. That would give them twice the amount of value of property within a drop of the pen, you know. So I'm just trying to show you that when you start, you can start small. But when you want to move from income to generational wealth, you have no choice, just like the Jewish and the Indian people do, to involve like-minded people in your area. I'm speaking about like-minded people in your area because not everyone will buy into your idea.
Mm.
So community involvement is important. Starting small is important. Now there are social factors and social risks in townships that prevent us from realizing the potential of our townships. One of them is crime and security. The second one is high density townships that make it impossible for us to even develop these areas. Alexander comes to mind when I talk about this, you know. I speak about Alexander because I know it quite well and I know it with passion. But there are other townships as well. Now, residents of townships need to get involved in social issues that have an impact in them. Not because they want to be political or anything, but because this thing has a direct impact on your pocket, has a direct impact on your ability to make money, especially as a real estate investment practitioner. Now, if in your block or in your township, there is a high level of drugs and crime, people will stay there because they want to stay there. But you will be unable to attract new investment, because to attract new investment, investors don't know the dynamics. They will go and get statistics from the police station. They will go and get statistics from Stats SA, whoever else that they want to get statistics from. Should they realize that you've got high propensity for crime, the chances of investing in those areas is 0 to nil. That being said, I'm not saying that there's no value. Anyway, there's value in every single property, whether that property is a slum lot, whether that property whether that property is you can make money from every property. This morning I woke up to find a post saying that they are renting out in somewhere in Mamelodi for 600 rands. Now I know an investor who exclusively deals in Nkuku, does not build rooms, does not build houses. He gets pieces of land, builds an estate, a townhouse sort of estate, puts about 15 mikukus in one estate, puts joint toilet, charges 600 rands or 700 rands for those shacks. Now you can do the mathematics. This guy says he has got over 150 of these shacks in and around Gauteng. You can do the mathematics. How much he's making per month, and the little effort he makes in input costs per month. Now, this particular industry requires innovation and creativity. It also requires that we become participants and masters of our own communities and destinies. Because to invest in the township, it's not like investing in the CBD or in the suburbs. There are many other dynamics that add up towards me ensuring that you safeguard your real estate and ensuring that it's profitable, not just for you, but for generations and generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my point. Like I said, we're also available on Facebook via Matimba Properties and SA Property Stockfields. We are going a rebranding phase. We are building a concept for a property stockfield that will allow us to grow our investment faster and at a bigger scale. So find us on Facebook and like and share. Thank you.
Thank you, Bra. Thank you so much. I just want to touch base on this last slide, especially with the community. Now, we are Black people, we are Africans. We are a product of a community. But for some reason, as we grow up, we lose the sense of community. Now, if you want to invest, Kokas, you need to go back and be part of the community. For instance, in his interview on TV, Matimba did say that when he goes to invest, when he's searching for a property, he does speak to the neighbors. And that's very critical. You can't invest in the townships if you are not a community person, especially if you're not staying in the same house and in the same township. So you need to have a sense of community. I've got lots of stories that I can share about what the community has done for me as an investor, although I don't stay there, and what I've done for my neighbors as well, so that we have that sense of community. But yeah, Matimba, thank you so much. Let's take questions at this point in time. Ladies and gents, I want this session to end around 11:30 so that we don't extend it too much, but let's take questions if there's any questions. We also have people that are watching us on Facebook. I just want to say to those and the people that came here without paying that this is a paid session, like I said in the beginning. And Matimba did mention something very important, that for you to take pride in what you gain, you need to pay. Like I said, this is only 25 rands that you paid for today for the four series. So people that are on Facebook, please, you guys, you need to join us and contribute to this effort, and contribute yourself basically, because this is your commitment that you're making to yourself. So let's take questions. Are there anyone with questions? Eunice, you wanted to hit first? Is she still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, yes, yeah,
Before Matimba got disconnected, he was mentioning something about, let's say you are a first home buyer and you are buying a property. You still stay, it's very important. He mentioned that it's very important that you, if you can, stay wherever you still stay, maybe at your home or wherever you stay. And there's a point that you mentioned sometime during the week. Can you just clarify, how do you make profit there? When, I don't know if you understand.
Now, I don't know if any one of you has ever heard of Airbnb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Now, Airbnb, there's nothing fancy about it. Airbnb has basically been doing what our Mastandi in our townships has been doing for time immemorial. If you can remember, we had our Mastandi staying in the main house, building rooms at the back, tenants staying in the room, and our mothers and fathers would take that money and they would take us to school, use it to pay for whatever, you know. So I've also seen people who build rooms, young investors in particular. This is famous with young investors. They build rooms and they move to the rooms. He moves and goes and stays in the room.
Yes.
And because he doesn't have a family, he's still young. The house and the other rooms. In fact, he doesn't even tell the tenants that he owns the property, you know. He moves and he stays in the room. They pay the rent into a bank account every month. And when they ask him, he says, no, I'm just a caretaker here. I'm just helping the owner here. The owner doesn't even stay here, you know. He's very far away. But every month he's able to receive that money. He's able to pay off his bond within 5 years' time. And within 5 years' time, his needs change. Maybe he's got a child, then got a girlfriend, he wants to move out, he buys another one. Almost does the same thing. Now it's possible for you to stay. Now I always say to investors, buy and use your property that is fit for purpose. Why must you buy a mansion when it's just you living in the house and not rent out the other rooms that you are staying with? I mean, you've got Airbnb, you've got technology as well as advanced. You've got room space, you've got my room. You can use all those technologies to help you get proper tenants to stay with, one-on-one tenants who's gonna come and stay with you for a day or two because they are coming for a visit to maybe a business meeting. They come and stay for a day, they pay you 500 rand. Now, you must also be innovative and creative.
Yes, there's a lady I that's commented on my post about balancing your tables, the different sources of income, and she said other source of income is that she gets money from sharing her 3-bedroom house, townhouse, not just a house but a townhouse. So she's staying in the one room and she's renting out the 2 other rooms and she's sharing them. Privacy is so overrated, people. That's all I will say. Privacy is so overrated. Let's try and use what we have and start where we are. Anybody else? Bongile.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Matimba, for the wonderful presentation. I just want to ask, in terms of township houses, normally you'd find they are family homes, and it's not easy for people to sell them and stuff. How do you overcome the challenge of the family feuds that forever happen in the townships, that you can buy and invest in them?
Look, I always say avoid houses that have conflict as much as possible. You don't want to get involved in it. Move to the next. No matter how sweet the deal is, no matter how nice you think you are going to benefit, avoid those types of houses. Move on and find yourself a house that has less conflict, less family drama, and so on and so forth. You gain nothing. It will cost you a headache. You will lose money. Your life will just be miserable.
Yeah, this is also important, speaking to the community, because sometimes you don't know whether there's going to be a family problem after you have bought the property. So again, when you invest, don't do what Matimba did with his property, buying a property without seeing it. Go see it, speak to the people around. I normally visit my properties. If I target a property, I go there early in the morning, sometimes during the day, sometimes in the evening, just to make sure that this is a property that I want. Because you don't want to get involved in things that don't necessarily need you. Again, you must let some opportunities go. You must understand this. In investment, opportunities are like buses. There is one in every 15 minutes. So let it go. If it does not feel right to you, let it go. Go for the next one. Anyone else? Kanya, and then we're coming to Nzuzo.
Yes, Ndumiso.
Yes, Kanya.
First, yes, my brother. First, I want to say thanks to Matimba for the good presentation. My brother, I want to ask you now, because in the township areas, some of our people do not have title deeds. What is your suggestion to government to sort out the title deeds issue for our people in the townships, so that our people can use their properties to go to the banks and raise finance? Because obviously, without a title deed, you cannot do that. So, what is your suggestion to government?
My suggestion is that government must just do its job. Government must just do their job. The task of issuing title deeds to residents is not a complex. It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. Government must just find it within themselves to do their jobs. The less I say about government, the better. This is not a political platform. We're here to build business. But I must say, I've experienced many situations where you have government not coming to the party. A government that takes the lives and the economic participation of Black people for granted. Now, this falls within almost all spheres of life. There's nothing. I mean, there was an investment property I wanted in Mabopane. You won't believe that 26 years into democracy, the government has not issued that family with their title deed. And I made two phone calls, only to discover that the title deed is sitting with the conveyancing attorney, has been sitting with the conveyancing attorney for the past 10 years. It's because someone failed just to say, where can we find this lady? Where is the address? Let us post the title deed to her, or let us call her to come and collect the title deed. So government must just step up and do their job.
But another important aspect that Matimba mentioned, Kanya, is that we as a community, we must get together. Let's stop fighting for things that are not going to take us forward. Let's stop giving our votes for free. At some point, we must say, government, you must deliver. But this is one of the things that we as Ekasi Properties, this is going to take years and years. But this is one of the things that we aim to do, put everyone together so that we can start fighting these things. And we need to go to the government and say, we need our title deeds. So communities must get together and go demand the title deeds. We must start understanding the value of our own properties. That's why we created this platform. And Zuzo.
He's muted. Oh, good morning, everyone. Yanbingelela nonke. Sibonge for your platform. Mr. Nkonzo and Ekasi Properties. Thank you very much. I acknowledge Mr. Matimba. Information of Zion is valuable, and there's a lot umuntu azokuthatha la although ngiyazi ukuthi usinikeza nje just a snapshot, I think you owe us much more deeper than was highlighted. And so if in story sakho se-flat, so we always like to hear ukuthi kupheke kanjani la, where you go and buy into without doing the numbers. We want to know what happened to you so that Nati, you know, we don't make the same mistake, you know. Mina, when it comes to, I just want to highlight this issue about buying a property and without actually interviewing or speaking to the people in the area. I think right now there's a problem right now I'm facing where I'm buying a property, and what I just discovered is the people who are so-called, who are supposed to be tenants, are not tenants. They actually bought the property as well. So now there's a conflict between the seller and the people who are supposed to be renting, who are also claiming to own the land. So it's now going to court. So I'm going to back away from the deal. So it's important. I just want to emphasize what it's important to go down and actually speak to the people. If they tell you, no, this is just a distant family member, you rather make time and speak to them and see and hear their side of the story, because you will be shocked. And my main question is, I forgot to introduce myself, sorry. My name is Zuzo Mtem, sorry. I'm from an organization called La Zuza Group. We are architects and we are property developers. We specialize in rental properties. Now, one of the issues I have, Matimba, is I'm a flatlet, I'm an apartment in a township. And there's 16 of them. I'm a room of 16 and I'm in suite parts. They've got kitchens. You know, they got geysers. It's like a flat, but it's just a mini version. There's 16 of them. If value is 3.5 million. Tell you, no, this is just a... Now, one of the issues I have...
Go ahead, Zuzo. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought someone is talking. Okay. I just want to give you this background, Uguti. With all of this asset that I have in my name, the problem is, okay, fortunately, this was built using cash. But when I want to leverage, when I go to the bank to borrow money and I show them my asset, the traditional banks, they have an issue. They are not happy giving me money that I want to borrow against that asset. I do not know whether anybody has come across such a thing, and if this is how it is, and how do we, you know, bridge this problem? Because I've been operating this for 5 years now. The property is clean, it's managed well. I'm getting 95% rental returns. It's always like full, and there's records. I'm using the same bank, but I'm just curious as to anybody has come across such, because we are all encouraged to go into property and build this property, and that's how we're supposed to be now beginning our wealth journey. But this is a really happy about borrowing against such a property. So that's my question. I don't know if it's clear.
Yes.
No, look, banks have not caught up to the way we do things in townships. I don't know if you've gone through the necessary rezoning, town planning issues, or certificates of building and so on and so forth. If you have, and they are not still not coming to you, depending on where you are based, you and I can speak after this. Maybe you'll get my contact details, and there are other funders except for banks who are able to assist. Maybe let's speak after this, and then me and now how we move forward.
No, thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, the some of the aspects that Unzuzo has touched on, we are going to be touching those. We're going to go on those in detail in the training that I will be providing. But also Nzuzo, in one of the, like I said, in one of the Saturdays, there's going to be a funder there. Also raise this question and see whether they will be able to assist you.
No,
yeah, but like Matimba said, there's other different sources that one can use to obtain funding. Any other questions? Someone on the chat is asking, what is the possibility of containers taking over the actual buildings? Are we now moving to containers? We no longer be building anymore.
Huge potential for our containers and other fabricated structures to take over. Highly innovative, low cost. If the concept doesn't work, as we are a Tata, we tell you remove it from one area and take it to the next. So there is a huge opportunity for us to do that. This is a platform that requires innovation, because once you put a container there and or any other structure, just plug in electricity and there's plumbing already moving on. To set up that structure will take you 14 days. It's an opportunity that I spoke to one of the guys who are doing AMA cold storages about. We are about to roll it out. We're working very closely with that. We think that that's where the future is, actually.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Ndumiso, can I ask a question?
Yes, Jay, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Matimba, for an educational session. You made us look at property in a broader scale. So my question is, what is your advice to someone who really wants to participate in a broader property sector? For an example, as an individual, I dream of owning, obviously, an estate, but that might take me, I don't know, a lifetime to get there. But with a group of people, it might take me a number of years to actually find myself with my team, having bought the land, and then we decide to develop on the land. So what is your advice to someone who's got a dream like that? Is it better to start off on your own, or maybe join a stokvel and then see where it takes you?
Look, it's all about your individual philosophy as a person, where you think you want to find yourself and how fast you want to find yourself there. Obviously, when you move alone, you move faster. But when you move with other people, you move more further.
Yeah.
So you need to weigh those pros and cons. You know, you need to ask yourself, do I want to move fast or do I want to move further ahead? So moving further ahead will obviously require that you build yourself a community of like-minded people that you are able to invest with. So nothing wrong with you getting together a group of people. By the way, another thing that we do is that we consult for these stokvels, you know, sit them down, advise them on what type of investment vehicle to use, the structure, how to put the constitution, how to invest in property, and so on and so forth. So this is very important as well, because it allows you as a stokvel to gain intergenerational. What happens to you when you die when you're in a stokvel? We answer those type of questions. What happens if you can't afford to contribute into a stokvel anymore, and then means, or you lose an income? What happens to your funding? What happens should there be a disaster that deals with your property? So it's very important that you understand, you get the education behind it first, because education, you don't stop learning. You know, you get the education behind it. Once you've got sufficient education, you are empowered to make proper decisions. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. It does.
Thank you.
And there you are. I'm not sure if you guys can see the concept. One of the what people are doing with those containers that Matimba is talking about. I found this on Twitter the other time. Can you see it, Matimba?
Yes, very beautiful, extremely beautiful.
Yes. So it's coming.
It's here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take one or two more questions and then we close.
You know, can I come in there? Yes, Mohammed.
Yeah.
I want to check, especially with the okay. I've just started in the property space, né?
Yeah.
So now, but then my idea, okay, when I started, I was looking at AMA flats and to invest there. But now my focus has just changed a bit to multi-let, like buying a house and then subdivide or do multi-let on a property. So now I just need to understand you guys, especially the presenter was talking about Elokshini, with renting out those properties. What are the current challenges that you are facing with subdividing that property to do a multi-let? Do you also have to go the route a municipality to rezone that, or what do you do? Because normally I'll see somebody will buy a property and then they convert it to whatsoever, or they build more rooms or double-story rooms behind and whatsoever. Is there rezoning there or what, especially in the township?
No, there is rezoning that's required, my brother. I'm not going to tell you whether to go ahead and rezone or not. It's illegal for me to give you advice based on that. But what I can tell you is that through Ekasi Properties and other platforms, we also need to be policy advocates. We need to advocate for government to catch up in terms of legislation and policy and bylaws to township properties. This is a discussion that you and I are going to have, because I'm very passionate about as well. Government needs to come to the party, guys. They need to recognize that we are entrepreneurs, just like you would have backroom dwellers in Brooklyn and Groenkloof, and we've got cottages. We're almost the same, but we must not feel as if it is illegal for us to do that. In fact, government should be the one who's saying, look, we are going to increase our infrastructure to accommodate you. We are going to say, we are going to put bigger switches, bigger conveyor belts, bigger electricity, so that we are able to accommodate you. You know, we don't mind paying a bit extra, but government, in my view, cannot just simply demolish structures of people who have worked hard to build them. What they need to do, they need to say, look, we are abantu bayakha wherever they are, and then they are trying to grow businesses ezinje. How is it that we can ensure that our business are cool now? How is it that we grow this economy? Because it's an economy that feeds mouths.
Okay, you don't want to get me started about what our government is doing and what ESCOM is doing to us. Because, for instance, when I built some years ago, I went to ESCOM and I asked them for a second meter so that I can connect the rooms. ESCOM told me that they only have their policies that one house, 1 meter. Few years down the line now, ESCOM is saying, is going to the radio now, they're saying the rooms, they've been connected illegally to the electricity. They are not necessarily referring to my rooms, but just in general. Now, nobody comes out and say, but we as ESCOM, we have had this policy for years, but now we have decided to change our policies. So yeah, let's not get started about that. I will take Letitia and Elizabeth. Then we can close. I will see if there is 1 or 2 questions from Facebook. Then we can close. Or maybe let's not take the free writers on Facebook. Let's take Letitia and Elizabeth.
No, just mine is just a little comment. Thank you for the beautiful presentation and from Matimba.
Can you come closer to your phone, Letitia?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, that's much better. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, mine is just a comment to say, as Black people, we need to learn to appreciate what information that we're getting from you guys. We need to heal our ancestral traumas. These are traumas that are generational of expecting freebies. Such information is paid for. People pay thousands of dollars to gain such information. This is like an information. So we need to do away with investing in information. Yeah, that's my take. Please, let's pay for. I even felt that 100 rand for 25 rand. Please, can we learn to do better? Can we learn to support Black people that are giving us information and pay them accordingly because they have paid their. Thank you.
Thank you, Letitia. No, I can accept 1,000 rands. I will share with my team. No, thank you so much for that, Letitia. Let's see, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you to Matimba for the insightful presentation. So I've got two questions. One, have we applied the COVID-19 lens? So what are the implications, especially when it comes to property owners and how we move forward from there as interested property owners? And the second one is me being from Alexandra, where we've got practically 3 zones where you've got the bonds, the shacks, and RDP. When you spoke about building generational wealth, does that not devalue those who own bond houses because the surroundings are shacks and RDP houses? Thank you.
Look, the post-COVID landscape is very interesting. I've said, thank you so much for the question, Liz, by the way. I've said a number of times that what will drive the economic recovery in property post-COVID is township properties. I don't know if many of you they've seen the article on the Citizen this week that says they are expecting properties that are above 4 million rands to fall by about 20%. My view is that it's properties that are above 2 million rands, not 4.
Mm-hmm.
The net value of those properties is going to fall by 20%. But guess what? Township properties are going to increase by 20% in the same period.
Mm-hmm.
So the post-COVID era for township properties is not about to fall anytime soon. In fact, the converse is going to happen. We are going to see a major improvement in how investors get into township. And when you want to see that there is opportunity, look at our listed funds. I was checking out an auction website during the week. They send me AMA links every week. 7 out of 10 of their land that they're selling in townships, Protea, Soshanguve. Obviously, the people who are going to buy this land is not township dwellers themselves. It's huge listed companies who've got 5 million rands just sitting around to invest. Now, to raise 5 million rands, ladies and gentlemen, is very easy. To raise 5 million rands from 5,000 people, is very easy. You've got more people who are spending money on DSTV per month than anywhere else. Speaking about Alexander, I mean, in shacks, you've got people who've got prime DSTV. I don't know DSTV, but I know they use this top of the range DSTV the one that you pay 900 and something. Now, to put 500 rands per month into a little kitty that will allow you to take up opportunities is very important. Now, the value of property is actually way different than any other place I've ever seen. Township properties is one of the few areas where property appreciates no matter what. Whether you're next to a house, or remember you've got what they call scarcity, supply and demand. The reason why township property sectors will always continue to increase is not because of cosmetic changes, that you see, but it's because of supply and demand. The more you've got people looking for those properties, is the more they are bound to increase. Now, my honest view is that township properties will be in demand, I don't know, for the next 100 years. So if you have bought a property, a bonded house, for 200,000 rands 5 years back, you definitely make 500,000 rands now. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we need to release Matimba. We are 15 minutes already over the time limit. Now, if you've got any questions, you can still touch base with me or touch base with Matimba. It's, yeah, and I was just checking if that's a question. Someone made a comment on the chat. Yeah, so if you have got any questions, you've got my contact details, which is 071 480 8458. Let me just put it out there, 071 480 8458. Next Saturday, we are going to be having a town planner from KK Projects who's going to be touching on the issues that I think it was Kanya that was asking about around the rezoning and all of that. And like I said, you don't need to pay again for the 100 rands. You don't need to pay again for that session. You already have a 25 rands in. But for the people that did not pay for this session,
you must pay, man. No. Just education for 25 rands.
No, no. This is not about the money. This is just about making sure that people commit themselves to what they said they will commit. Now, the people that are watching on Facebook, if they want to attend and get full value of the next sessions, they must pay the 100 rands. Not 75 rands, they must pay 100 rands. So next week, we've got the town planner on the 22nd of August. Book the date, make contact with me to make arrangements for you to attend that session that's paid separately. That session on investing in multi-lets, where we're going to be diving deep. We're going to be diving deep into the ECAS space and the multi-lets in general. But what I want to say to you is that use the information that you got from today. Get in touch with us, get in touch with the people that have been in this session. I hope you noticed the names. I know, for instance, I think it was Nzuza. He said he's an architect. So if you are going to be in need of architect, use this as a networking platform and contact Nzuzo. But most importantly, understand property investment. Don't retire broke. This is why we are here as ECAS Properties. We want everyone to start building the generational wealth. We help each other to grow so that we don't retire broke. We stop this thing of us as Black people creating a wealth. For instance, someone asked about the title deeds. The people that don't have title deeds, it's because of we don't understand what is property. So we just having this house that we're sleeping on, we don't understand that we're sitting on gold actually. So we need to get those title deeds, and we're going to do that if we understand the meaning of properties. So I want to just say thank you so much for having taken these 2 hours with us, myself and Matimba. And Matimba again, bro, we highly appreciate your time and being here. For you ladies, this is me. I just want to say goodbye. We'll see you again next Saturday. Thank you so much for coming through. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Dubiso. Thank you so much, everyone. Matimba and
Thank
everyone
you.
else. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Aziya, my daughter.
Yes, who is it? Oh, sorry, man. I was busy on a Zoom call.
So Nzuza, where's your property?
Yeah.
I reside in Nazareth in Pinetown.
Busy.
Sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Your property, where is it?
In Nazareth in Pinetown.
Pinetown.
Yes, Durban.
Oh, Durban. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the rezoning there? Do you know what's the zoning?
It's approved in terms of planning. Everything is above board. I'm just waiting for now for the certificate of occupancy. That's all. But everything is above board.
Okay, maybe that's why. But when you said you're going to the banks, you want to use it as a security. Are you taking a loan on the property, or you want to use the property as security?
In both cases, because I want, now that there is it's money that I'm sitting on, so I should be able to use it. But oftentimes when I let the bank know what it is that I have, like if I want to refinance it, they're not interested. They immediately, you tell them it's a multi-let, they run away.
Okay. Have you tried ABSA?
It was actually ABSA who I spoke to first. But I asked them, what I asked them is, why is it that they don't view their property as an investment? That's something that they could finance, but they were very skeptical, and they were telling me about, they don't like, in the event where they have to repossess, they don't like to evict, say, 16.
Okay.
So, but I'm just seeing the trend. I haven't explored all the banks, but I'm just seeing the trend. So that's why I'm just questioning, is this really, the view of the banks about these developments?
Yeah, but that's strange because they finance townhouse developments. What's the difference between a townhouse development and what you have done? Because even with a townhouse, they will still have to do all of that. Sorry, can I just take this one? Hello?
No problem.
Good, how are you? Yeah. Yes, Billy, can I call you back? I'm still just trying to finalize with the people that are still on. I'll call you back just now. Okay, sharp. Yeah, Nduzo, okay. No, that's fine.
Yes.
Let's discuss this further. Let's see what the guy next week or the other week is gonna say about this. But yeah, let's continue having these discussions.
Yeah, no, let's do. I mean, it's interesting because I think if one can break through this barrier, you see, I think
you're opening doors for everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially us. You see, we are packaged as a development company. So our clients, they come to us and we develop this thing for them.
Yes, yeah.
So from planning to putting in our tenants, we manage the whole process. All the client has to do is just pay us money, and then we complete the entire thing. But the problem is, I'm getting people now who actually want to fund this process, like use the bank,
Yeah.
But we still have a barrier there.
Okay. Yeah. No, there are other funders that you might need to approach with regard to the rooms, but let's have the discussion some other time.
No problem, man. I'm going to. This is your number, the 071.
Yes, yeah.
No, I'm going to do that. You were going to send me banking details.
Oh, okay. Which one is your number?
Okay, let me just, I'll just write again who I am.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Just send me a WhatsApp and then I'll send them to you.
All right. They.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, I got it.
All right.
Okay, no, sharp.
No, but thank you very much for this platform. This is wonderful.
Okay,
Where,
great.
sorry, where are you guys based? Where are you based?
In Pretoria.
In Pretoria. All
Yes.
right. No problem.
Okay,
No,
sharp.
thanks, man. Thanks
Sure.
a lot, man. Sure.
Sharp. Who's still here? Moringwa, Aziye Matota. Maseko, Tembaletu, Ayana. Let's go. Tembaletu, are you here or is just the phone? Okay. Seems like I'm alone, so I'm ending the meeting.
Yeah.
Ninja, right?
Sharp winner.
Sharp. At least you managed to get through.
Yeah.
Okay. Although it was late, but you did not miss much. Yeah, Matimba was just telling us at the beginning about his story and the school fees that he had to pay and all of that. You got the gist of the presentation.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Okay. Sharp. Bye-bye.
We'll talk. Let's touch base, man.
Yes, no, definitely we must keep in touch and contact.
All right, sure.
Sharp, Bruce, thanks a lot for today. Yeah?
Sure.
Sure. Tembaletu awufuni kuhamba.
I love hearing your voice, how. Sharp.
Yeah, sharp.
Sharp.